yeah, we're golfing this
Well,
week,
I
aren't
have
we?
a cabinet.
It's golf week, big golf week in Pine Palm this week?
Yeah.
It is golf week.
You ready, Kelsey? This regular meeting of the Detroit Lake City Council is called to order. And at this time, I'd like to invite you all to please stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The minutes of the regular city council meeting held July 12th, 2022 are before the council. Is there anyone in the audience or any member of the council that wishes to make any changes to the minutes as they're printed? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion for their approval.
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes of the regular council meeting held July 12th, 2022. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. The consent agenda is before the council, and all items with an asterisk are considered to be routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered separately in its normal sequence on the agenda. Is there anyone in the audience or any member of the council that wishes to either add or remove an item to or from the consent agenda? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as printed.
I so move the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt the consent agenda. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. At this time, I'll adjourn the regular meeting and call to order a public hearing to receive public comments on a proposed abatement of diseased trees for 2022. And Sean, is this something you could speak to?
I can.
Okay.
Mayor and council, this is just the regular disease trees, that we do every year. It's nothing different. This would be the second hearing on that, before the letters, before they have to remove the trees or else have the city remove them.
So I know there's a couple people in the audience that are here for that. Do you have questions, or do you want to make any comments, or is there anything we can do to answer your questions?
You have somebody that is gonna take them down?
How that works is if you, as the homeowner, you do not wanna take them down, just contact us, and we have a contract with Cars Tree Service to remove them.
And do they give you an estimate before they take them down?
In your letter, you should receive an estimate for that.
That'll be it then. That'll be the price.
Well, that's what we're hoping, yes.
Okay,
I
that's what I
mean,
needed to know.
Within a little bit of variance, yes.
Thank you.
Ma'am, did you have something you wanted to ask?
I don't know, should I ask, because when I got that property, I remember people told me the guideline right there, but the tree after that, the meadow right there, the tree after that, and the net property and the tree, the meadow line from them is another side, so I don't know. Now I got it better, and the parcel number exactly in my number, so I confused, I don't know that
So,
my property or another, my neighbor property.
so you're not sure if the tree's on your property?
Yes.
So maybe Sean, could you
Yep.
talk to her for a minute and get her address and you could maybe go look at it?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep. Anyone else in the audience that wants to speak to the issue of the diseased trees abatement? If not, that public hearing is closed and I would entertain a motion for the diseased tree abatement.
Public Works, reviews those lists, and we move to order the abatement of the diseased trees.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded to order the abatement of the diseased trees for 2022. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. I'll call the city council meeting back to order, and without objection, I'd like to move to item 6F. Madeline?
6F was discussion centered around the amended management agreement with the Minnesota Flyers Gymnastics. That, Charlie has worked on that management agreement, and it has been sent to the Minnesota Flyers, and you also all have a copy of that. We are not going to act on that management agreement tonight in order to give everyone ample time to review it. Further in the Public Works discussion was the fact that they are waiting on our yes or no for their extension, which heavily revolves around the parking lot issue. We reviewed other management agreements that we have with the museum, with the Detroit Mountain, with the DLCCC, in order to try to establish whether there is a precedent for parking lot maneuvering. Who pays for maintenance, who pays to install the parking lot, etc. The Public Works Committee has requested that Charlie do some amending on that management to put something in there that would be similar to the wording in the management contract for the museum regarding maintenance and a percentage perhaps of the parking lot that's dedicated to where they might be, where their people will be using that parking lot. So whereas we recognize that that parking lot is largely a city parking lot, so is the lot that the museum uses. So there is some precedent for doing that with the Flyers. So that's going to be coming, ladies, that amendment, and then your board can address that. And we will plan to have this on the agenda in September and make the decision then. So the decision whether to go forward or not will be made in September. So at least you've got that much going.
Then you can go get your money.
That's right.
Cool. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Any questions with it?
Questions, yeah, questions.
Mayor, if I may, just for my
Go ahead,
own,
Matt.
for my own knowledge, Mr. Ramstead, if you could enlighten myself, I mean, what does the mountain or the country club or anything else, I mean, what are we looking to gain by doing this?
All of the management agreements that we have require the nonprofit who is our manager to pay all of those expenses. So the presumption at Detroit Mountain, the presumption at the golf course, and frankly, I guess the presumption theoretically at the community center, although that's a little different because it's a little different parking lot, it's shared with the museum, is that the nonprofit pays for not only the maintenance, but also any improvement of the parking lot. So for instance, Detroit Mountain, when they paved their parking lots, they're responsible for that payment, okay? Now, it is true that we granted them, just like we do in other facilities, some of the park dedication, or not park dedication, but the tax money for the trails. We made a contribution, the city made a contribution to Detroit Mountain for them to pay for the improvement of their parking lot, okay? The historical anomaly here a little bit is the Minnesota Flyers. In their year 2000 management agreement, it provides that the city will maintain and plow the parking lot, okay, just flat out. Doesn't say what kind of maintenance is gonna be done, doesn't designate parking spots, but it says it's gonna do that. That's different than every other entity. Every other entity is responsible at community center for plowing and maintaining their own parking lot. I recognize this is a little different. Obviously, it's a big parking lot, shared by the arena. So, you know, we're trying to sort of mesh different situations in a way that would end up being fair for all. And so my understanding from the committee today is that we're supposed to work on some language by which in the future, if there are improvements done to that parking lot, we're not requiring them to do parking lot improvements now, we don't have a plan for that, then at that point in time, the city would have the right to ask the Flyers, as the manager of that facility, to contribute something towards parking improvements or towards the whole parking hall.
Okay.
We don't have numbers for that now. I don't know that we even have percentages of it now, because, again, it's a percentage of what? We don't know what we're doing. So it's going to be sort of an open-ended, but it's clearly going to say that that possibility exists. So the Flyers would know that, you know, just like every other management entity we have who's responsible for their parking lots, the Flyers would be responsible for at least some share, some portion, some contribution towards parking lot improvements. At least that's my understanding of the direction from the committee.
So, so then I guess my question is with this new management agreement, is this a 3-year, 5-year in
Well,
perpetuity?
That's a good question. That's also something you should read through and think about. The original Minnesota Flyers management agreement was written in the year 2000, and it was a 25-year agreement. So it's still in place.
Mhm.
And, you know, it still governs the management of a city building. I mean, the city owns the building, the city owns the land, the city owns
Mhm.
everything out there except some gymnastics equipment. I assume that they have their own equipment. But any fixtures or whatever. So in the other management agreements, we have 7-year terms. So that's the golf course, that's the Detroit Mountain, that's the community center. Ultimately, that's not my decision to make. That's your decision to make as to what the term should be.
Okay.
But this one, in this particular form, I filled in the 7 years just because that's what
Sure.
we've been doing with the other entities. And, you know, this does not and cannot be exactly the same as those other ones.
Sure.
They're not all exactly the same. What we're trying to do is get it into a format where, you know, when we hire a management company to manage one of our recreational facilities, we use this general template to do it. And then, yeah, there's gonna have to be some tweaks. So
Gotcha.
you would be well within your bounds if you thought that the 7 years was wrong and you wanted to do something different.
And I was just curious, looking at this, if this is still in contract till 2025,
Yes,
why can't we address it in 2025, give these guys a year to build it and a year to fundraise? We're already at 2025 anyway.
well, remember that there's nothing in this management agreement specifically about what their project is. There's no approval of any project because this is a management agreement. It's
Mhm.
not a building expansion agreement, right? I think that there should be some sort of ancillary agreement with regard to the existing, with regard to their expansions, because you are correct. The original agreement says the same thing. It says the same thing as this. It's your building, they can't change it, alter it, modify it at all without approval of the city council. That's in the existing agreement. So you know, you could say, we don't need to redo this until 2025. But again, this does not specifically address their project.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Again, thanks for coming, guys. We'll see you next month. Without objection, I would like to go to item 5I on the agenda. Dan?
Item 5A is consideration to a resolution approving the preliminary plat to Dandrew Place at 609 Terry Street. Larry, you wanna?
This is a 9-lot residential subdivision. It meets the requirements and the planning commission unanimously recommends approval.
Okay, Planning Commission recommends approval. CDC reviewed this today, recommends approval. And as long as they pay the park dedication fee, the stormwater easements, and get the land disturbance permit. And I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a preliminary plat for Dan Drew Place at 609 Terry Street. Discussion? Any questions, Dan? Good?
I'm good, thanks.
Okay. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Without objection, I would like to move to item 5H.
5H is consideration to a resolution approving a variance to allow a 2-foot 6-inch yard or side yard setback instead of a 10-foot side yard setback at residential lot at 1364 Long Lake Drive. Larry, you want to explain this one?
Yeah, essentially, there was a measuring problem and they ended up measuring 2.6-foot side yard setback instead of at least 10 feet. Part of that reason is because there's a city easement alongside this house, a 30-foot wide easement. So they actually have a 30-foot setback between them and any other building that could go up in this neighborhood. So there's no real issue with the planning commission because they felt that this would not impact the aesthetics in the neighborhood. So the planning commission unanimously recommended approval.
CDC reviewed this as well this afternoon, recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a resolution allowing a variance for a 2-foot 6-inch side yard setback instead of a 10-foot at 1364 Long Lake Drive. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. You're good to go, Drew.
Thank you so much.
Get that house done.
So I don't believe there's any other folks here for any other items, so we'll just go back to the second public hearing. So I will call to order a public hearing to give consideration to the granting of an on-sale intoxicating liquor license and Sunday liquor license to Shorewood Pub LLC for the period September 1st through December 31st, 2022. Matt, is that on your agenda?
That is, Your Honor. We discussed this at Liquor and Gambling. We would like to move this forward. There was no dissenting votes or even conversation about it. So we would make a motion to approve item B1, approval to grant an on-sale intoxicating liquor license and Sunday liquor license to Shorewood Pub LLC.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to grant the liquor license from September 1st through December 31st for Shorewood Pub LLC. Discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. And we're back to Dan.
Item 5A is consideration to the first reading of ordinance 492, amending the sign ordinance relative to allowing signs in residential districts. Larry, Charlie, somebody want to give us a little bit of?
Essentially, our sign ordinance was a little bit weak in that it only mentioned construction of a sign or erection of a sign. And basically, somebody could then argue that they did not erect the sign, they are only maintaining it or keeping it on their property. And so we added some additional language that no sign shall be erected, placed, established, painted, created, maintained, or maintained except. So then it covers all of those things, and our legal counsel feels that this is adequate to defend in court better than the previous one.
Okay.
Planning Commission reviewed this, CDC reviewed this afternoon or this morning, recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to give first reading to an ordinance 492, which amends our current sign ordinance relative to allowing signs in residential districts. Discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. First reading is given.
Item B is consideration to a first reading of ordinance 493, amending the zoning ordinance to allow dental clinics with laboratories in the I-1 Light Industrial District. Basically, it allows that purpose in the I-1 district. Planning Commission reviewed it, CDC reviewed it, recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to give first reading to ordinance 493, amending our zoning ordinance to allow dental clinics with laboratories in the I-1 district. Discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. First reading is given to ordinance 493.
Item C is consideration to the first reading of ordinance 494, amending the city code to include section 514 relative to pet waste. We did review this at the CDC meeting. We did recommend that we eliminate an item under 514.02 regulations, subparagraph A, to remove the common grounds owned jointly by members of homeowners or condominium association from the recommended deal. Larry, you want to give us a little bit more?
So this was based on a model ordinance that the MPCA put out. We're required to adopt a pet waste ordinance as part of our MS4 permit. Otherwise, I don't think this would be before us. But since we have to do it, This is what we have to do. We can eliminate that one line that Dan mentioned.
Okay? Is there a motion, Dan?
Yes, CDC recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to give first reading to ordinance 494 relative to pet waste. And that first reading will be given with the elimination of the sentence that Dan mentioned. Discussion?
I would like to mention that while we're talking about pet waste, I've had a number of people this summer. We have signs all over our city beach saying that there's no dogs allowed, but there's getting to be a lot of mess, not only on the sand, but also now where people come and put their beach blankets on the grass. And I don't know where this, I just thought I'd bring it up. We've got pet waste on the beach, and we've got signs, and we maybe have to look at enforcing that for people that want to bring their dogs to the beach. We have signs that say no dogs because of pet waste, and it's something we may have to look at down the road on it.
Can we put signs, no geese waste out there too?
Yeah. That's there
Geese
too.
can't read.
That would be good if they could read.
Yeah.
Just, I know we're off topic, but haven't we done things in the past where we relocated those geese somewhere?
I think the only thing we've done in the past is we've had some of our public works people try to scare them away.
Cause their poop
Is that a
looks
good way
like
to
dog
put it?
poop, you know what I'm
I
saying?
know, yeah,
So,
it's not good.
That would give you one advantage to having dogs on the beach.
yep.
Yeah. Anyway, we have a motion, and there was a second, right?
Yes.
Yep, and just to the point of Larry saying that we probably wouldn't be addressing this if it weren't for the larger MS4 permit that we've got. It is something that we do have a lot of potential pet waste runoff into our lakes and streams, and that's what this is getting at, is trying to eliminate that and hopefully keep our water clean, and that's what the next ones of these are about as well.
Okay, further discussion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ordinance, first reading is given to ordinance 494.
Item D is consideration to first reading of ordinance 495, amending the city code to add a section 515, salt and de-icing material storage. Again, with the MS4 permit, need to come up with a regulation to keep our salt storing facilities, whether it's private or public, facilities on hard pavement, and keep it contained so it doesn't run off into our storm drains and into our water systems. Is that about right?
That's right.
All right,
Exactly.
CDC recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to give first reading to ordinance 495 regarding salt and de-icing material storage. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. First reading is given to ordinance 495.
Item E is consideration to first reading of ordinance 496, amending the city code section 1007 relative to stormwater management. Again, this is due to our MS4 permit, covers some more stormwater management items. Is that about right?
Yes, it covers some additional stormwater requirements that we have in our MS4 permit, and it does require that we take care of any salt or chloride, and there are some other modifications as well.
CDC reviewed this morning, recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to give first reading to ordinance 496 regarding stormwater management. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries, and first reading is given to ordinance 496.
Item F is consideration of the first reading of ordinance 497, amending the city code section 1008 relative to stormwater illicit discharge and connection.
Once again, this is a requirement of our MS4 permit. Most of the modifications in this were related to definitions.
All right, CDC recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to give first reading to ordinance 497 regarding stormwater illicit discharge and connection. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And first reading is given to ordinance 497.
Item G is consideration to a resolution approving a conditional use permit to allow a short-term rental of a two-bedroom home at 316 Woodcrest Boulevard. Kind of our typical short-term rental project or request. Planning Commission recommends approval, CDC reviewed this, recommends approval, and I so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a conditional use permit for a short-term rental at 316 Woodcrest Boulevard. Discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Anything else, Dan?
That completes my section.
All right, we'll move down to Public Works. Madeline?
Item A was a discussion regarding the Broadway cul-de-sac. John, can you just do a real quick overview of this?
Sure. Mayor and council, this has to do with the Dandrew plat that we just approved this evening, as well as the food pantry project. With that, it would provide an opportunity, if we chose to potentially connect Broadway, which right now terminates about 50 feet south of Terry Street. There's a cul-de-sac, and it stops just before it intersects Terry Street. Of course, Broadway was built long before Terry Street was there, but now Terry Street is there. In my view, it's at least worth exploring or discussing whether or not we should actually make that connection like we would with most city streets. So the discussion was just that. This would be an opportunity. We have to get into that cul-de-sac to connect for some sewer and things like that. So it would provide an opportunity if we wanted to connect that road, we could. And so I think the discussion at the committee meeting was just simply, is there an appetite to look at that? If so, the next step would be to have a public hearing on that in September.
So the outcome of the discussion was Public Works is going to order a hearing with communication sent as far down as Sunset and Broadway. What was the other street, Mr. Zeman?
Well, we want Mountain View, all those,
Yep.
streets also on it to
All
be
those
notified,
streets.
yes.
So that they understand the possibility. So there'll be a hearing in September to discuss whether or not that's a viable choice.
Okay, so no action other than that?
No
right?
action tonight,
Okay.
other than the ordering the hearing. Item B, discussion regarding a request for parking boats on the beach. As we assumed, there would be probably some complaints when we took to outlawing boat parking on the beach overnight from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. There has been a little pushback. Public Works did have a discussion on it today at our committee meeting, and we are not going to take it any further. Item C, discussion regarding deer around Shorewood Drive and Long Bridge Road. Public Works also had a discussion about the fact that there are deer within our city limits, and there has been some complaints about them, wondering what could be done. Could we pass an ordinance to outlaw feeding of wild animals within the city limits? Public Works, Sean King said that might be a very difficult ordinance to write because wild animals, how do you construe that? Do you want to do away with bird feeders or the like? So what we're going to do is just recommend it to everybody within the city limits. Please don't feed the deer come fall and winter. That might help. And unless you want to do away with all your hostas and your shrubs, we may still see deer in the city limits. Anybody else have anything to offer about deer in the city limits?
I used to live on Shorewood Drive and they've been there for years.
They're out on Long Lake too. Item D, consideration to accepting the bids for Highland Drive and awarding the contract to Celine Brothers. That was not in here.
Oh.
For $2,262,802.15. Celine Brothers won the bid, and Public Works is recommending that we accept that bid to get started on it as soon as possible. As you may recall, the split between the city and the county for what remains after the grant that has been awarded for that work is a 60-40 split. Public Works reviewed it and moves to accept that bid.
Is there a
So
second?
moved. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to accept the bid from Celine Brothers for the improvements to Highland Drive. Discussion on the motion?
I'd just like to mention that our share is gonna be approximately 500,000 on that.
Okay, further discussion?
Is that still set for this
Yep.
season?
As soon as possible.
Further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries.
Consideration, item E was going to be consideration to a resolution, but that has been tabled for the time being. Item F, we have gone over. Item G, acceptance of the city engineer's monthly project status report. So John, you want to bring us up to date?
Plenty going on here. This might shock you, but I think fall is going to be busier than spring in the way of construction activity. So here we go. Westlake Drive Phase 1, that would be from Legion to County Road 6. Effective today, that road is closed through traffic, so we've got a temporary access road going through there just to facilitate access to those adjacent properties, but the contractor is starting work on that in earnest this week. They'll be doing pavement removal, setting up dewatering, things like that. As time moves forward, they'll start the underground utility work. Concurrently with that work, Public Utilities has a contract in there to replace and relocate all the overhead electric lines. Private utilities are going to go with them on that. So there's a whole lot of work to do in the next few months. And I guess what I would stress to people, since I have the opportunity, is yes, you can get through there, but we just need to limit that use to those folks that live in that area. It's going to be a tight corridor with a lot of activity. So Westlake Drive Phase 2, just further south, so this would be County Road 6 to the Pelican River. That also went reclosed. We opened it up again for WeFest, but reclosed. They started pulling pavement off today, so that road is effectively closed. You cannot get through there, so don't try. Again, that will take us right into freeze up this year, but we'll see some underground utility work starting on that later this week, I think. The Berquist subdivision, just processing final payment. The Brisland subdivision, I have had some communication or exchanged some voicemails with the developer on that. It seems like there may be some new interest or renewed interest in that, so more to come on that. The Willow Homes and Frazee Street project. Home Street, we got the first lift of asphalt down before WeFest, reopened it just during the WeFest weekend. We'll reclose that tomorrow morning. The crews will be in there working on adjusting manholes and things like that, getting ready to place that final lift of pavement on it, which is scheduled for Friday. If that all goes to plan, we'll reopen it. And then all we'll have left is some striping next week on that, and we'll just do a short few-hour closure to get that work done. And then that portion will be done. The alley and Frazee Street are done. So what's left remaining is Willow Street from Rossman to Washington. That one has admittingly kind of drug out here with not a whole lot of activity. We're trying to work with the contractor to get that back on track. I think we'll be looking at maybe some concrete paving sometime next week on that. Right now, just trying to get as much of that work done before school starts as we possibly can. So all in all, that project should be wrapped up by the middle of September. Lake Forest, that one also we're processing final payment on. Highland Drive, we discussed that. To that point, Chairman Suki had pointed out the contractor is pretty eager to start. Sounds like they want to get going sometime in the next couple weeks, which I'm sure that'll be welcome for anybody that uses that road. Long Pine Estates Phase 3, the contractor worked on some clearing and grubbing and started on that project. Utility work to start probably next week and run into probably the early part of October. The Becker County Museum and DLCCC parking lot, we did get activity moving on that last week. They got some of the underground sewer and water work done. Moving on to the underground stormwater infiltration system, that's in. Now they're starting to do some grading and continuing to work on the storm sewer. So that project is moving. I think the existing museum, all the asbestos abatement's been complete, and that should be going to the ground here August 22nd, I think, week of August 22nd, so a lot more happening over there. Again, nothing to report on Campbell and Linden or Summit Avenue, and the Dandrew subdivision, you approved the plat tonight. I'm sure I'll have some continued discussion with the developer on that, whether they wish to proceed ahead or not with the subdivision portion of that. One way or another, we got to bring sewer and water over that way for the food pantry, but they've indicated that they wouldn't need those services until early next spring. So we'll work on that project this winter and bid something for next year.
Any questions for John? Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, thanks, John.
We should have a motion, I suppose, to accept the
Yes,
report.
Public Works moves to accept the status report from the city engineer.
Second it.
Motion is made and seconded to accept the city engineer's monthly project status report. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Anything else, Madeline? So we'll move to the Finance Committee. Chairman Zeman.
Okay, the first item is item 7A, consideration of approving the DLCC 2023 rates. They haven't had a rate increase for 3 years, and this is a very minimal rate. For example, a premier single person that's paying $52 a month now it'll move to $56. A premier senior rate that is $46.80 will move to $50.80. Then you get down to you want to do a premier plus seniors with added benefits, they'll go from $51.30 to $53.30. So like I said, it's very minimal. These increases will generate about $29,000 the remainder of this year. This all starts in September when the year goes out on this. And for next year, these increases will raise an additional $57,000, and that's to keep up with that expense that we have at the community center. So I move that we go ahead and approve these new rates.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the 2023 rates for the Detroit Lakes Community and Cultural Center. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, the next item is 7B. It's a consideration authorizing advertising the bids for the remodel of the Detroit Lake City Hall here. The architects are approximately 80–90% finishing up on this projected project for cost, and we'd just like to have the approval to go ahead when they do finish to go ahead and put it out for bids, and we'll have a special council meeting. And so I make a motion that we go ahead and approve that.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to authorize the advertisement for bids for the remodel of City Hall. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next item, item 7C, a consideration of resolution setting a public hearing for the Public Works Facility Project on September 13th, 2022 at 5 p.m. That's our next month council meeting. We'd also like to have that the amount be revised up to $11 million with the inflation and cost of projects. The costs have gone up. We don't know where this is going to come in, but we just want to have that in there. So if we have to have that number, we can do that. And I would recommend that we go ahead and approve this.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt a resolution setting a public hearing for the Public Works Facility Project for September 13th at 5 p.m. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, then also we've got it added, you should have a resolution number that's in your, this is in regards for the city of Detroit Lakes to ask Governor Walz to go ahead and call a special session so we can finish up all the year's work they did, and we came to the end and then nothing was decided. And this is helping all cities, whether it's street works, water works, helping the Heartland Trail, helping with the LGA dollars. There's a ton of projects in there that are waiting to be done, but because they couldn't get together and work it out, everything's has been put on limbo. So many of the cities across the state are writing in this letter to the governor to say, please hold a special session so we can finish up last year's work. And I make a motion we do that.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt a resolution urging the governor and the legislature to reconvene and pass a bonding bill for 2022. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Anything else, Ron?
Yes, I think I'd like to have Heidi, just give us a quick recap of how we're doing on our food and beverage and local option sales tax to give people an update where we're at on that.
Sure. So, year-to-date on the food and beverage tax, so looking at the numbers in your packet, I don't have updated figures because I haven't gotten finalized figures for May 2022 yet, but March, April, and May for food and beverage were all down a bit from where we had seen the figures from 2021. We were hoping that that wasn't going to be a continuing trend, and sure enough, it wasn't. Come June, so a couple of days ago, we got our June advance payment from the state, and June came in very strong. So over 9.25% over what we received in 2021 total. And this again is just our advance payment. We have a follow-up payment that comes subsequent after they get in all the tax returns and get everything settled up. So overall year to date, you know, we're over where we were last year at this time by about $6,800 in the food and beverage tax fund, so about 3%. So overall looking all right. Moving on to the local option sales tax. Again, that fund also in April and May, and although May is not finalized yet, and this local option sales tax does see quite a bit come in with their finalized figures. April and May were showing trending lower than where we had seen before, and was kind of curious about that, but once again, June came in looking pretty gangbusters, so already over where we were last year, and I anticipate another at least $25,000 to come in on our final payment for both May and June, so we're gonna be well over, you know, June figures by the time all is said and done. So, year to date, local option sales tax is, I would project that we're, you know, over when we get those two finalized, those 2 months finalized. I'll project that we'll be over by about $15,000 or so. But again, we'll kind of wait and see how those shake out when we get those finalized. Again, doing very strong, very well, still projecting to pay off that debt for the new police department facility next spring sometime, which is pretty incredible. And then our liquor store fund, Randy and his crew has been continued to be extremely busy. They had, you know, another record month in July. Their July was over last year by just under $4,000, so, which was, I think, kind of shocking almost even to Randy, because they traded a few weekend days for weekdays, or a Saturday for a Sunday type of thing. So very, very strong sales over at the liquor store continue.
Okay, thank you, Heidi, for keeping us updated on that, and that's all I have, Your Honor.
Okay, we'll move to the Public Safety Committee. Chairman Winter.
Thank you, Your Honor. So for some time, it's become apparent that we are going to need a full-time fire chief. The duties have been growing over the years, and with Chief Swanson deciding to step down here near the end of the year, the beginning of the year, this became imperative. So we've been holding a couple of meetings. We met with the townships, which are served by the Detroit Lakes Fire Department. We had Public Safety Committee meeting today, and what we mainly did today was review a job description for a new full-time fire chief. So we made some progress on that, and just giving you a heads up that that's something that we're going to be looking at and requesting in the budget for next year. There's just too much work to do for a part-time fire chief. We've been lucky to have such good chiefs over the over the last couple of decades that would handle this at the expense of their own businesses, but it's time to bite the bullet on this one. So just give you a heads up that that's coming. The other thing we talked about at public safety, which is not, so no action required on that tonight. The other, we had a discussion about speeders over by the high school and some things we could do about that too today. So, but that can be handled through some signage and so forth. So again, no action is needed on that.
Thank you, Dan.
Could I comment on that?
Sure.
You know, we had a person from the town, one of the townships with us, and when we do hire this new full-time fire chief, it's gonna be a joint effort between the townships and the city, and we couldn't do it without their involvement in this, because they pay a percentage also, each township, and they couldn't do it without us, so it's a team effort, and we wanted to work together on this to make sure it comes out the best for all the residents in Detroit Lakes and within the county. So it's a team effort on this. It's something new. We saw this full time, like Dan said, coming down the road, but it's here now, and we're gonna have everybody on board, and we want the participation from the township with us, along with the city council, to make sure that everybody knows what's going on and what's happening, and everybody's happy with the results, and we do hire this person.
All right. Anything on liquor gambling control, Matt?
Everything was on the consent agenda, Your
Okay.
Honor.
All right, very good. There is an item on the public utilities, Madeline. Would you introduce that?
Sure. Consideration to a resolution accepting capital contributions from the city of Detroit Lakes and county of Becker, and authorizing reimbursement for the airport hangar project. Kelsey, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah.
Or Vernell?
No, I will. Mayor and council, this will be contingent upon public utilities approving it tomorrow morning. But basically, this is authorizing a capital contribution to the airport commission for the LifeLink hangar that was constructed. I believe public utilities approved up to $350,000. This would be $326,500 would be the city's portion, and then Becker County is also contributing $326,500, which will be paid back over the next 10 years with the rent received from the hangar.
So it's basically just a loan, right?
It's a long story, Mayor.
Sounds like a loan.
You can say it's like that, Mayor, but please don't.
All right.
It's a capital contribution.
Scratch my comment, please.
Public Utilities Commission moves to accept that contingent upon our voting for it tomorrow morning.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve a resolution accepting capital contributions from the city of Detroit Lakes and the county of Becker, and authorizing reimbursement for the airport hangar project. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. I need to appoint someone to the Becker County Canvassing Board. Is anyone who's not on the ballot present here this evening willing to be that person? Madeline?
Well, I would just love to, but Friday, August 12th is not going to be a good time for me.
Is that a golf day?
No, but that's but my son is flying in tomorrow night to be part of
The music thing, yeah.
part of the review, career in review for Kathy Larson on
Right,
Saturday
yeah,
at the
yeah.
Holmes Theater. And so a couple of us are doing some decorating and all that kind of stuff for the big reception in the ballroom after that. So I'd rather not have to commit to that if somebody else could do it.
I could do that, Mayor.
But you're not on you're not on the ballot, so guess what?
Vice
Mr.
Mayor,
Zeman can
Vice
do it.
Mayor Zeman bailed you out.
He did.
Thank you, Ron.
You're welcome.
Do I need to have a motion or anything, or can I just appoint him, Kelsey?
You should have a.
Should have a motion.
I move to appoint Ron Seaman.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to appoint Vice Mayor Zeman to the Becker County Canvassing Board for this primary election, also the general election. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We still have not located a member to serve on our HRA board. I know the HRA board members are actively booking, is that correct?
Yes, we had our meeting this morning, and we've got one more prospect, and we're
Okay.
gonna hope to have the answer by the end of this week.
Very good. I would like to recommend that we reappoint Mary Haney to the HRA board.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made, seconded to reappoint Mary Haney for another 5-year term. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I would like to recommend the name of Chris Jaskin to be appointed to the Detroit Lakes Development Authority, starting August 5th. I'm not sure what this term will be, because he's filling in for Dale, who was filling in for Chet, so whatever's
Yeah.
left on that term.
I believe this is a new term.
Is it a new term? Okay, very good. So I would entertain a motion to appoint Chris Jaskin.
Second it.
I'll first it then.
First and
Motion's been
second.
made, seconded to appoint Chris to the Development Authority. Discussion?
I just wanted to get in before Dan did.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. I would like to appoint Mike Stearns to be the city representative to the DL Community Foundation. And then the foundation itself will be picking an at-large member from within the group. And we've given him a name that was tossed around, that Ron had talked to somebody. So I'd like to appoint Mike Stearns to be the DL Community Foundation rep for the city.
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded to appoint Mike Stearns of the DL Community Foundation as the city rep. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. The 2023 Budget Committee schedule is before you. The candidate election filing remains open through August 16th. There's another joint governance meeting on October 4th, and the balance of the 2022 council meetings are listed. So, Kelsey, do you want to announce anything is there a budget meeting tomorrow, a special budget meeting?
Nope, budget meeting is
Or
Thursday.
special finance meeting?
Yep, we're just having a finance committee meeting to begin our union negotiation discussions, so
That's at 9 o'clock, right?
9 o'clock, yep.
Anything else from the city staff that needs to be addressed this evening? Dan, anything further?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Jamie, Matt?
One thing I forgot to mention, Mayor, in July was a heck of a fireworks display. And a lot of that was on the backs of our local business. Please support local business. I know Amazon didn't pitch in for fireworks, so if the more we can support downtown or Becker County businesses would be greatly appreciated.
Yep, very good. Madeline?
Nothing.
Ron?
Just want to make sure that everybody does come for the budget meetings. They're every Thursday at 7 o'clock, and it's important that we have every council member's input on this, because it's going to affect how our city operates for next year. So please try to make it. We're going to try to get you out at least by 8, no later than 8:30, but we know a lot of people have to go to work at 8, so we want to try to get people here and then to work, so please come.
Okay. Dan?
Nope.
Anything further, Aaron?
Friday's tripwire for the firefighters.
Yeah.
I was there last year, it was a good time.
And where is that held again?
The hub, ain't it?
In front of the hub.
For
In
Lakeside?
front of the hub or? In front, okay.
In the street.
Very good. The business of this council has come to a conclusion and the meeting is adjourned.